Social media posts on different pricing for iPhone and Android users on e-commerce sites including Uber, Ola has sparked a huge debate. A social media user has claimed that Uber charges more for Apple iPhone users than Android users. The user shared a photo of two separate mobile phones showing different rates. While the Android phone showed 290 rupees 79 paisa for a Uber auto ride, the Apple iPhone showed 342 rupees 47 paisa for the same ride. Well, the user wrote, for the same pickup point, destination and time, two different phones get two different rates. It happened with him as he always gets higher rates on his Uber as compared to his daughter's phone, which is an Android phone. So he preferred booking a ride from his daughter's Android phone instead. Now, the user also asked if others were being charged differently by Apple and Android. Now, a lot of people have replied to the tweet, with one user saying that it happens with him too. Sometimes the difference is not much, but it can even be more than 30 rupees or 50 rupees. And he wrote, trust technology to play with your wallet. All right, some even suggested that people must use Rapido instead, as it's the cheapest of all. As this discussion went on, Uber has released a statement on the allegations. The statement read, and I quote, multiple differences in these two rides impact the prices. The pickup point, ETA and drop-off point on these requests vary, which will cause different fares. Uber does not personalize trip pricing based on a rider's cell phone manufacturer. So Uber denies personalizing trip pricing based on phone type, but experts have pointed out that such disparities could be seen due to the e-commerce platforms accessing hardware data and user behavior patterns to adjust fares. So you can also call us on the numbers given below on your TV screens and share your experiences with us. Have you also been facing similar challenges? Have you also noticed fare difference for identical trips on these platforms? And not just Ola or Uber, even other e-commerce apps do track consumer behavior pattern, and you see these pop-ups on your phone suggesting you to buy a product or show similar products once you click on a tab somewhere on a website. Is there a difference in pricing for Apple and Android users on these e-commerce websites too? You can call us and share your views with us. We already have a caller on the show from Chennai. Prakash Prabhu is calling us. Prakash, go ahead.
Yeah, I have not experienced the e-commerce pricing as such. But then maintaining an Apple phone, which I have been using for the last 10 years, is quite expensive, because right from storage, they charge you on everything, every app developer, which I want, like AccuWeather, they charge a lot of money. So in effect, I am spending nearly 2,000 rupees on apps alone, which is quite expensive.
Okay.
And the quality of the Apple phone itself over the last 10 years has come down a lot. But this is news to me. I think I will have to check it out. But you have an option where you can ask the app not to track. So right. I think people can use that option as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Prakash, for speaking to NDTV. We also have co-founder of Web Data Guru, Ronak Shah, also joining us on the broadcast here. Ronak, what's your take on this?
We have been providing price intelligence services primarily in the US market, and there sometimes explicitly it is the requirement of our clients to track location-based pricing, different user agent-based pricing and so on. So from a strictly technical standpoint, it is possible. Whether or not it is being done in India, can't really comment on that. But we know for sure, based on our years of experience in the West, that it is done, whether it is a profiling, different user cohorts. For example, even in India, at least in the food delivery, we know for sure that different user cohorts are price targeted differently. So, from a very, very technical standpoint, it is certainly possible.
Okay, so it's different for iOS users and Android users. And this, of course, happens because, the e-commerce apps are able to track the consumer behavior patterns.
Right. So, strictly speaking, technically, in this case, it will be the user agent, quote unquote, the user agent. So they can, theoretically, they can even track the browser, in this case, this is the iPhone, right, or Android. Assuming even if you are doing it from the web, they can track whether you are accessing it from Chrome or any other browser, and they can price differently. Sometimes what happens is, we know based on our price intelligence experience, sometimes e-commerce marketplaces try to sort of protect their prices, and they start masking their prices based on different user agents. So if they suspect that it is a bot, then they will show some unreal pricing, which is not really the real price and which does not really serve the purpose of price intelligence. So the same technology could easily be translated into this context.
Okay, all right. All right, we have more callers also calling us. We'll go to them as well. You can also call us and share your experience with us if you also had a similar experience before. And this social media user, Ronak, if I'll come back to you again, this social media user put out this tweet saying that for an Uber auto ride, on Uber, we do understand it was showing about 290 rupees if I'm not wrong, and on the other side it was showing about 342. Well, on Uber itself, for Android phone it was showing about 290 rupees and 79 paisa, and for Apple iPhone it was showing about 342 rupees 47 paisa. I mean, help us understand, how does this happen? I've seen it for other rides, for cab rides I've seen. There was a difference, but that was not as stark as this. I mean, there was a minor difference.
Right. So basically, they are able to track, number one, there are multiple parameters here. There are, what we call the fingerprint. That fingerprint includes your browser, your type of phone, your location, even the gyrometer of your phone, and a number of other inputs which are available to the server. Now, this server is definitely able to track, and if at all, the algorithm decides to price differently, it can be done. I'm sure you must have seen this in terms of flight booking. Let's say if you are booking the same flight from the same IP again and again, the price increases. The same happens in case of these cab bookings as well. From the same location, from the same airport, if there are multiple requests being made, then the price increases.
Yes.
So it's kind of the same technology
but this was being done at the same time, Ronak. That is what we're trying to understand. At the same time, this man was trying to book a ride from his daughter's phone, and that was an Android phone. It was showing about 290 rupees. But if he was trying to book the ride at the same time from his Apple phone, it was showing about 342 rupees. So does Apple think, or maybe, these e-com, platforms think that those people who are using Apple, those who are using iOS, technology, they must be richer than those who are using Android?
Well, theoretically, yes, it is possible. We don't know for sure what is their raison d'etre behind it. But I mean, let me give you another example. Let's say if you're trying to book, let us take an example of Mumbai, for example. I can set my algorithm to price, to charge higher prices if at the same time you're booking from Kolaba and booking from Borivali, for example. So that is possible. So, but Uber has already commented they're not doing this, so it's very hard to really decipher what is actually
and some
going
people
behind
say
it.
sometimes it's just a minor difference. It does happen to them also. Personally also, if I can tell you, I've had a friend who's told me about the same thing 2 to 3 days back, and I couldn't believe it. But she also has been facing a similar challenge, that she was trying to book through her Apple phone a ride that was she was trying to book through an Apple phone, and it did cost her about 100 to 120 rupees higher than what she was being shown on an Android phone. But yes, some people say that's, for most of them, most of the people here, it's a minor difference that happens.
Sometimes it could be significant as well, if at all it is being played out that way. I can give you examples from the US. We have been serving primarily the US market. For example, there is zip code based pricing. If I'm ordering for the same item, the same SKU from a Manhattan zip code and from a Connecticut zip code, if I take an example of New York, for example,
yes,
I will get significantly different pricing. That happens day in and day out. So if at all, somebody wants to play that game, so to say, it can be done.
Okay, and it's not just restricted to Ola or Uber. It could, be, the same could be said about the food delivery platforms also, as you've been talking about it earlier.
Absolutely. Practically anything e-commerce. Because you know exactly the location, ideally at least the vicinity from where the user is ordering it. You know the client browser. You know at the end of the day, it is a browser. Even if it's a mobile phone, it is a browser user agent. In this case, it is Android versus iPhone. But you know for sure that where the request is coming from, and if you train the server to treat these two different requests differently in terms of pricing, it can be done. Whether or not their business logic is exactly the same, hard to comment. But if the user has observed it, he has observed it. He or she has observed it.
Okay, so do you think that if this is happening on a large scale, we do believe, but this user did specifically point out about Uber and Ola, there needs to be some restriction?
Yeah, yeah, that again goes to business ethics. Basically, how anybody would want to treat different users. If the thinking behind this is that an iPhone user would have more purchasing power, so to say, I would not say that is 100% correct. I'm using an Android phone. I could easily have used an iPhone or whatever. So that is not exactly correct in all matters. Where people have different choices based on a whole lot of reasons, not just the purchasing power.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you so much, Ronak, for speaking to NDTV and sharing all that information with us. Well, it's time to wrap this discussion. That's the latest that we are picking at the moment. Well, we are shifting our focus now to some more news that we are tracking at this point in time.